We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Blake Rafino. This is Are You Serious Sports? We hope that you guys are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. Tigers win. Tigers win. Jay Johnson gets his first win in the SEC as the head coach at LSU today as the Tigers beat the A&M Aggies 7-6. Score 7 runs in the last 5 innings to be able to pull this one out today. The Tigers did struggle on the mound, in the field, but the Bats did come back alive and were able to narrow this game out. And look, might be a long season, but Jay's got a lot that he's got to prove here. And look, the very good one thing is that Jay loaded up in recruiting when it comes to pitching for next season. So a lot of people already getting aggravated. Let's just relax, calm down, and let's see what this team does. They have a lot of talent. But pitching and being in the field, just not that. It's a little sketchy right now. So we will talk about the LSU baseball recap this weekend. We got a lot of LSU stuff to talk about. Is Scott Woodward narrowing down his coaching search? Al Landry says on YouTube, Woodward looking at Murray State head coach Matt McMahon. Y'all know how I am with names. But Coach Mac, as they call him, yes, it does look as if he's narrowing down his search. I hear that Tony Bennett, the head coach at Virginia, is getting some looks. So Scott is still shooting for the stars when it comes to who his next head basketball coach is going to be. So we will touch on that as well. I'll talk a little bit more on not specific coaches. Let's let that develop a little bit more. But yeah, he is shooting for the stars. That's for sure. Coaches might be a little bit interested more than they normally would, just in the specific aspect of that they might get a longer contract at LSU and some good money. Devin Stubbs says 27 SEC games remaining. Yeah, you can't really take a lot of it, but you don't want to lose the series to A&M. But nevertheless, Devin's right. You do have 27 more games in the SEC. So we will do Rafino's Rants. It's still a rampage. Speaking of basketball, as LSU, since we've been here, LSU loses to Iowa State. Kim Mulkey beats Jackson State as they were 10 down. They come all the way back and pull it off. And Kim Mulkey has tied Will Wade for the most postseason NCAA tournament wins than Will Wade at LSU. Yeah. People aren't going to like that. So we'll talk about Rafino's Rants there. Crying Belly, who sends us $4.99 via Super Chat. Thank you, Crying. He says hashtag free Will Wade. See, no. Don't free Will Wade. Let Will Wade get, stop that. But I do appreciate the Super Chat, though. I do appreciate the Super Chat. Okay, let's do this. We got so much to get into. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Share to some Facebook groups. We would greatly, greatly appreciate that. Everybody, and I mean everybody, hit that like button, hit the share. Share to as many groups as you can if you're on Facebook. We greatly appreciate that as it helps us grow when you share it. Come on, man. Don't be a square. Hit the like and share. Don't be a Rudy Poo, y'all. Don't be the Rudy Poo. All right. If you're listening to us on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and notification bell there as well. If you're listening to us on the audio podcast platform, subscribe, rate, review, do all of those things for us as it greatly helps us there too. I want to get to 100 reviews on Apple, Spotify, things like that. So everybody go to Are You Serious Sports, AYS Sports, Apple, Spotify, rate, review, and subscribe. In about 10 days, we're going to be, well, maybe even less than that, we're going to be doing another giveaway. So if you want to win some money, go over to Twitter, AYS Sports, hit the follow button. And if you want to make some, and go over to Apple, Spotify, rate, review, and subscribe. Hit the review, say a little something, something, give us some 5 stars. And then that way we know, that you have rated, reviewed, and subscribed. All right. Let's pay some bills around this thing, and then we'll get started no better than our good friends over at GM Varno & Sons and betonline.ag. Guys, with over 65 years of experience, nobody's better equipped to service in your vehicle than GM Varno & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhaul, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. Give them a call today at 225-664-9992. That's 225-664-9992. And tell them your good friend Blake Rafino over at AYS sent you on by. And our good friends over at betonline.ag. Guys, I mean, this is one of the best March Madnesses that I could ever remember, really. I mean, Duke was up right now. The fighting Coach K's are holding off, or were holding off Michigan State, but it looks like they're down 70-69. So many games to vote on, bet on in March Madness. You got to get over there today and bet of it. Use the 50% welcome bonus when you sign up by using the Believe podcast tab, BLEAV. That's BLEAV. You'll get that 50% welcome bonus on that first deposit. Again, it's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. All right, let's get this thing rolling, y'all. Carl Dunn says Collins with the Bengals, Leo Collins. Yes, he did. Is going to be protecting Joe Burrow. He said in this press conference that Joe Burrow's new bodyguard is in town. And he says he told Joe nobody's going to touch you. Let's hope so. Kenny says, I agree, but JB made a nice catch in the ninth. Yeah. And look, there were some things this weekend. Guys, LSU gave up a lot of hits this weekend. Let's not get it twisted. To a team that's not really a great hitting team. They got to get – it's not just – I see a lot of people defending it like, well, Blake Money didn't start on Friday night. Ty Floyd had to come in, but that doesn't help your bullpen, though. I mean, guys, Mikael Hilliard got rocked around today. Ty Floyd got rocked around Friday night. So until they change some stuff on the mound and in the field, this team is not going to they're just not an Omaha team right now, guys. They're just not. And that's not a shot at Brian Kelly, at Jay Johnson, but they got to get better in the field, man. Now, McManus has gotten better at the plate. Jordan Thompson comes along with some timely hitting. You weren't going to be able to keep Trey Morgan down for long. It was 0 for 10 in the first 2 games. Then he comes out today with 3 hits. Very timely, or very bad being thrown out there at the plate when you got Jacob Berry coming up to the plate. I don't know if he was sent or if he went on his own, but with bases loaded to get some insurance. Now, LSU gets out of the game with the win, but, I mean, you got Jacob Berry coming up to the plate leading your team in home runs. I wouldn't have sent him, but we'll see. The Golden Poop Pod says if Kelvin Sampson is an option, please make him the top option. So let's talk on that. Everybody do us a favor. Hit the like and share to some Facebook groups, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. Look, I want to say this, and this is something that a lot of people are worried about and why a lot of people should have not overreacted to Scott Woodward making the move to fire Will Wade. Because it is very evident to me that Scott Woodward is playing a big time move. Now, today there's some rumblings about Scott Woodward meeting with Coach Mack, the head coach over at Murray State. There's some sourcing and rumors that he's going to be meeting or has already met with Tony Bennett, the national championship winning head coach from Virginia. So let's let this one play out as it gets a little bit closer, as we start hearing more things. More likely tomorrow morning, even until tonight, we will start hearing some more things. But I just want to say this. You don't not move on from Will Wade because you're scared of what's going to happen in the future. When a coach has level 1 violations against him, you got to move on, especially when he takes an amendment in his contract that says if he gets a notice of allegations against himself or the program, that he could be fired with cause. Now, I just want to let it be very well known that Scott Woodward is anything but a conventional guy. You know, the market would tell Scott Woodward to go out there and to not, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's maybe not even a word, but to not pursue a bigger coach, a coach that could come in here and really win. Not pursue a national championship winning head coach like Tony Bennett, who, by the way, his wife is from Baton Rouge. See, the funny thing about this is that everyone wants to dictate the market that Scott Woodward has to go down and the avenue that Scott Woodward has to go down. But says whom? Right? Like, says who? Now, I want to make this really well known because Crying Belly, who is very well known to having very great takes about the quarterback position, hashtag Baker Mayfield. Let me say this. This whole Free Will Wade saga, especially from the media, has got to stop. Guys, he got caught with his hand in the cookie jar, and not only did he get caught, he rebelled against it, and it didn't save him any. This whole cocky nature that he went about it, and he still has, isn't serving anyone anything. It's not helping LSU's cause. It's not helping his cause. Going around town saying you're innocent is not only naive and stupid, it is not factually true. And the media running out there defending him on it is not factually true. Guys, how many times are you going to come into this show and we tell you something and then you run it to another media source, they say it's the opposite, and then the truth comes out and you're like, oh my God. I mean, for crying out loud. Move on from Will Wade. Let me make this very well known. I have zero sympathy for a coach that gets fired when he gets caught. Zero. Because there's so many underlying rules in recruiting that you could get away with all of this. If you think Will Wade didn't offer Musa Cisse, you're a damn fool. You're a damn fool. If you don't think that they weren't, it might have not been $300,000 worth of cash. If you think that they weren't offering that man money when they've offered in a wiretap a strong ass offer to other players not as talented as Musa Cisse, yeah, you're right. Guys, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with NIL either. Well, Blake, players are getting paid. Yeah, by boosters and business owners, not by head coaches. The sloppiness is not only unreal, it is quite honestly arrogant and naive. It's like you speeding past a cop car thinking that you're going to get away with it because your daddy might be a sheriff's deputy. Don't mean nothing. That trooper's still going to write you that ticket. They love writing me tickets. So I have no sympathy for Will Wade whatsoever. Don't come in this show and give me sympathy for Will Wade when you get caught. Buster Tanner says, I am hearing that there will be media availability for the spring. Can we expect more videos from practice from AYS? Likely. Very likely. Very likely. So, Crying Belly says, shaking my head, we'll talk later. Here's the problem. Crying. Here's the problem you have, or people who are defending Will Wade have. You don't come with any facts, right? Like you come and say, "Oh, they're just coming after LSU, buddy." If you're, as Ryan says here, I'll just use his analogy. Do the crime, do the time. Yeah, sure. Stefan says Wade is going on to the next. And I'm cool with that. But I don't dictate what fans are talking about and the most questions I get. All I'm trying to rehash is if you get a guy like Tony Bennett or a guy like Coach Mack who has a guy who recruited and got a guy like Ja Morant, by the way, you move on from Will Wade. Is that so hard to ask? Brian Williams says 78-74 Duke, 107 left. Man, I really felt as if, though, that Edward says I'm tired of hearing about Will Wade. I am. Me too. But you're going to continue to hear more about it. Rick Mobley says, agree, Blake, move on from Will Wade. Okay, guys. Okay. You may want to move on from Will Wade, but you're not getting the free Will Wade, Scott Wilbur this, Scott Wilbur that. The only reason I was bringing it back up was because if you're in those Twitter spaces, if you're in the DMs, it's an underlying thing. Now I know, and so Keegan, I see your YouTube, your thing on YouTube. I'm not going to, it's not fair for me that you guys bring other people in here to talk about it, but I think Coach Mack has a very strong chance to. I think if Coach Mack wants a job, you give it to him. Now, that's the Murray State head coach going, 33-32 or 33-2 this year. Really, really good coach. I think it should solidify what Scott Wilbur's trying to pull off. Right? Like, it's what Scott Wilbur is trying to pull off. So I'm not – I come out here to say – that if Scott Wilbur is able to pull something like this off, what happens, guys, if you have a 6-year, $30 million gig that LSU is going to be putting to a head coach, and they start doing these renovations for the PMAC like I know that they're going to be doing. So you sell the vision to Coach Mack on the simple fact, like, hey, man, we got a strong tradition here. We want to pay you. We're going to give you a 6-year contract versus a 4-year contract, because there's a possibility that we have 2 years worth of sanctions. Now, even if LSU has 1 year's worth of sanctions, LSU can still, with the transfer portal and NIL, find their way back within a year to being, I don't want to say a contender, but that maybe possibly making a push into the tournament or getting into the tournament. We'll see how all this comes. What happens if there's a scenario where, and let's talk about this too. Does guys like Coach Mack or Tony Bennett know something that Scott Wilbur knows something on why these kinds of coaches would entertain this type of job? Meaning, what if LSU gets I don't see a scenario where they don't get a postseason ban. But what if most of these sanctions are on Will Wade? What if Will Wade gets a 5-10-year show cause? LSU gets a reduction of scholarships. What if that's the penalty that they face? But we've seen coaches go into jobs that really they probably shouldn't have and wondered why. But then all of a sudden, the sanctions that they formerly faced were somewhat reduced after a period of time. Now, LSU football, that's also in this lack of institutional control, doing what they did, I think is a big deal. Actually, it is a very big deal. So what did they do to LSU basketball? But I don't think I do think that LSU is going to have to offer a coach a 6-year, $30 million deal. And if you get a guy like Coach Mack or Tony Bennett, I'm okay with that. I think that everybody should be okay with that. Now, I see Carl Dunn says this. He says Sean Miller was out for 1 year, now coaching Xavier. He was hit with several level 1 violations. Hope LSU only gets 1 year probation. That's another thing. What if LSU only has a 1 year probationary period? What if they don't have a postseason ban, y'all? What if Will Wade gets a 2-year show cause? I mean, we don't know the level of what these sanctions are going to be. But I think that it does tell you something when Scott Woodward's out there shooting for the stars. Now, I don't know if Coach Mack or Tony Bennett is going to be the next head coach at LSU. But what I would tell you is that it should give you some foresight and insight to the push they're making into. At least it does for me. At least it does for me. So, tough way to end the season, but I got to say this too. I got to say this. I don't know about you guys, and I know that I would hope that most, if not all of you know this. I did not want LSU to lose against Iowa State Friday. I didn't. I was aggravated just like the normal fan probably was. I'm sure that you were aggravated. I was aggravated. The entire fan base was aggravated that they lost to Iowa State. However, I kind of felt like it was a sigh of relief for me, though. You know, like we can move past all of this and we don't have to continue to talk about it. Now, again, we're going to have to continue to talk about it because the coaching search is here. There's some pretty strong sourcing that Coach Mack is getting an interview today. If that's the case, then we'll continue to follow the coaching search, obviously. But in reference to Will Wade and everything in the black cloud holding over LSU, guys, quite honestly, it's just a huge sigh of relief for me that we're moving on from all of this. And I hate that LSU has to lose. I hate it for guys like Darius Days. I hate it for guys like Tasman Mitchell that's on the staff. But at least we are coming to a conclusion of all of this. At least that we are coming to a conclusion. So, Bernice says, as a parent, I so totally agree. Seeing your child so torn hurts. There you go. There you go. David says, if you are winning at LSU really well, Will Wade will be forgotten. He will be a has-been. It's all about winning. Woodward will hire the right guy. Just be patient. It will all work out. Everybody loves a winner no matter what. It is what it is. Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Bundy says, any word on the Steen, the offensive tackle? It would appear that it's coming down to LSU and Alabama with and look, this is something big we could talk about, obviously this week. And we'll talk more football tomorrow because it is, it is football week. Like we got spring. Guys, we have spring football this week. We have spring football this week. I know as long as it feels like that we've been without football, it's only really been a month. God. I'm really interested to see, in reference to Tyler Steen, I know from the staff, facts confirmed from their mouths, they obviously want him in here before Wednesday. Now, if he doesn't commit before Wednesday, if he's not on campus before Wednesday, then you let it ride, you let it go. But they want Tyler Steen in here before Wednesday. Now, obviously the biggest thing is going to be what the quarterback position. That's going to be the biggest thing. But I will tell you this. I'm really excited. Brian Kelly doesn't really, what's funny is that we haven't had really a institutional change since Nick Saban left. And everything's really being changed. The way the guys run, the way that things are done and running and lifting and stuff like that. Just hearing things like the competition that these guys are putting forth, the accountability groups that Mike Jones, who joins us every Thursday and everything that he's talking about, this freshman class that's come in and done some good things. Guys like Quincy Wiggins, guys like Walker Howard, guys like Will Campbell. So I'm more interested to find out how this team is more coming together, which I believe that they are, and how Brian Kelly is going to build off of that. Brian Kelly's a winner. And I will tell you this. There's a vibe right now that, that wasn't here before. Now, I want to be careful because this is going to be a part of my Rafino's rants. And I know people want to move on. But did y'all see Ed Orgeron this weekend? If you missed it, Ed Orgeron was in Cabo during spring break. And some very drunk college students were staying behind Ed Orgeron. They were filming him. They were giving him the big L. I don't think for LSU. I think for maybe loser. And Ed had a problem with it and walked past their table and gave him the stink eye like he was ready to fight. Let me say this, guys. Brian Kelly would never. Right? Like Brian Kelly would never. And it kind of wraps up for a bow for me. Like, Ed, what you doing in Cabo with college women? Like, why? I know people think it's funny. I know people think it's games and stuff like that. I'm kind of ready to move past all of that, man. I want a coach that'll come in here and just be a professional and win a lot of games. Is that too much to ask? I don't want my coach or my ex-coach going to Cabo, mean mugging, college kids in Cabo during spring break. Like, what are you doing there during spring break? Guys, y'all know what he's doing there. Come on, man. So when guys report that Ed had women at practice and some of them one of the children were going through drills outside of practice, but still when other players were getting through drills, and you say there's no way that ever happened, but yet the man's at spring break in Cabo mean mugging college kids, we think that it's funny. Guys, it's not funny. It's embarrassing is what it is. It's embarrassing. Ed Orgeron should be ashamed of himself, y'all. He should be. He should be. And you're wondering why your team was separated the last 2 years. That's why. Guys, they got a shit ton of talent. Guys, LSU football has a crap load of talent. Especially when you look at the defensive side of the ball. That front seven, B.J. Ojulari, Jaquaylin Roy, Mason Smith, Ali Gay, Mike Jones. I mean, there's Micah Baskerville. You got Jay Ward returning with a lot of experience. 5-star guys like Sage Ryan, Greg Penn, who started against Kansas State, Xavier Carter, who, if he can just figure out and break down, and he could be a 10-sack a year guy. That kid's explosive. You got guys like Jared Bernard Converse that started 40-plus games in college football. You have first-round talent on the D-line in that front seven. Guys, the truth of it is that LSU gets out of bed in the morning from a football perspective, and it's a 6-win team. We've seen it. Guys, without good coaching, they are a 6-win football team. That's the floor. It's not 4-8, 3-7. The floor is 6-6. Now you bring in a competent head coach that can actually do some things. And guys, it is Brian Kelly's biggest goal. The reason a man like Brian Kelly comes here is because he wants to cement his legacy. That is the only reason why he comes here. He wants a natty. He doesn't want to go to the beach in Cabo. He doesn't want to go to the bayou and dig holes in the bayou and bury people in there. He doesn't want to celebrate Jack Marucci when Jack Marucci drew up the running plays that gave Ty Davis Price the rushing record in a single game on trap counter power. He doesn't want the doctor that's on his staff to be able to have to call offensive plays for you to win a game in the SEC. Yeah. Justin Brown says, and I don't know if this is Justin Brown, the chief, but he says Ed's a millionaire who left the program, and you're still using segments to talk about him. His ego is no worse than yours. Justin, with all due respect to you, Jeffersonville Hardware. So I'm assuming you're a business. So, Mr. Business, let me tell you this. When the man's got his shirt off, wanting to fight kids in spring break, when LSU is paying him $17 million to stay away, it is a big deal. 11 is a big deal. When videos are going viral on social media, it's a big deal. So don't you dare come up in here and tell me it's not a big deal. When LSU, he still, whether we like it or not, has a face for LSU football. You do realize that, Jefferson's Hardware. Justin also says the media hates Saban for all the reasons you just listed. Who gives a shit who hates Saban? Saban's not out there. The worst thing that Saban's done in the last 10 years is going to a show with Eli Manning, and he says he likes the white cream from Little Debbie cakes. That's the worst thing that he said. I would rather take Brian Kelly hitting the gritty and dancing with a recruit that he doesn't get than being in Cabo on spring break and wanting to fight college kids. Austin says, well, Blake, he doesn't work for LSU anymore. He can do what he wants. Guys, we're paying him $17 million. It's funny because fire Ed Orgeron, but let's defend Will Wade. Donald says, at Blake, at Ask Blake, not the hashtag. He says, you're right. This team is loaded with talent, and solid coaching will make a huge difference. I agree with that. Guys, we got so much talent. There's no business why we deserve, or this team deserves, to go 11-11 the last two seasons. Our standards and what we believe, this is what we do. Okay? If we don't want to believe it, we say it's not true. Y'all get that, right? So if I don't want to, Ed's been a millionaire. Ed was a millionaire when he won a national title. It's not fun and games when your ex-coach. We haven't even played another football game. We haven't even started another season without Ed, and we got to sit here and talk about him because I care about the persona, and it's funny because everybody says, well, that's the reason that the media hates Saban. Why do you think the media hates you? They mock you and make fun of Louisiana people, and I got to sit up here and say, oh, well, I can't talk about Ed Orgeron, but he can be out in Cabo hitting on chicks. Hell, I mean, oh, Christ almighty. Christ almighty. I don't get it. Chris English says part of the buyout is due an appearance for the school once a year. It's a disgrace. That is a part of his contract. It is a part of his contract. And it's not, I don't know if it's once a year, but if they needed him to. Brad says, what's up with all these lower seeds taking out all the higher seeds this year in March Madness? Brad, I have a theory on that, and I think it's a great question. I don't know. And guys, tell me your thoughts on this about all these bigger seed or lower seeds, quote unquote, taking out some of these higher seeds. I think that COVID year and so many guys coming back, like the smaller school, like how does basketball have a 6-year senior? 5-year, it's very rare that you see a 5-year senior in basketball. Some of those guys being able to return on years that they're probably not supposed to return to. That COVID year and guys getting a year of eligibility back for these smaller programs like St. Peter's. I think St. Peter's is starting 5. If I'm not mistaken, St. Peter's, aren't they starting like 4 or 5 seniors and 2 seniors are coming off the bench or something like that? So, and I could be wrong there. Don't quote me on that. And if that's the case, guys, if that's the case, that's the reason why they're winning. So that's the theory that I have. Now, could I be wrong there? Maybe so, but just a thought. Just a thought. Crying Belly says Will Wade has never done anything comparable to an embarrassment of Ed Orgeron. And also, Will Wade has men's basketball on an uprise. Coach O made football hit rock bottom. We're not at rock bottom. That's number one. Number two, although I agree that some of the things that Ed does is embarrassing, having level 1 violations against you and having a postseason ban means absolutely no. Will Wade has done worse than Ed Orgeron. Ed Orgeron's a national championship winning head coach. No, sir. No, sir. Now, again, he did some bad things, and I get it. And I get it. But having postseasons bans in the NCAA on your campus investigating you, having the FBI investigating your head coach. I'm sorry, guys. As bad as Ed was, the one thing that Ed knew better than anybody was how to not get caught. The worst thing that they caught Ed Orgeron doing on the field and in recruiting was passing by a recruit and talking to him a little bit longer than he should. That's the issue that Ed Orgeron had. Maybe Will Wade could have talked to Will Wade and gave him some pointers in recruiting. Crying Dust says it's $4.99 via Super Chat. Thank you so much. Chris says Justin needs to learn the proper usage of your and your. Y-O-U-R and Y-O-U apostrophe or apostrophe R-E. Yeah. I got it. Gino Vega says Edo is only going to Miami for a college camp. He wasn't, Yeah, Chris English is also doing a one in Louisiana as well. He has several speaking gigs at campuses this summer. Yeah. Chance Babin says the Peacocks are the Kentucky State champs. Champs beat UK and Murray State. How about that? How about that? That's St. Peter's, man. Brad says that that St. Peter's game was huge. Was a huge game. I was inquiring about. Never seen that one coming in Kentucky going down. Geez, yeah. And there was a talk a lot. A lot of people asking if John Calipari is overrated. Let me just say this: I don't agree with John Calipari being overrated. Let me tell you why. And nobody's gonna agree with me on this. I get it. I think that there's a big difference in underachieving than being overrated. Like then in the theory that people would say is that, well, he recruits at a high level so that he should be winning more. So the argument that I would counteract to that was, what's the defense for Will Wade then? Is he underachieving? Yes. It's hard for me to say that he's overrated. Like maybe my standards for saying a coach is overrated is a little bit different. Like people say that let me give an example. Like some people say Dabo's overrated. Like the worst season Dabo's had last 6 years is 9-3. Like people are more mad at Dabo this year for going actually 10-3, and Saban's done that too. I mean, his worst season was 11-2, but still, like I'm not of the mindset that like a coach like Dabo's overrated. When you've taken 3 programs far in the tournament as Calipari has, I don't think that he's overrated. Underachieving, yeah, maybe. And I know people aren't going to agree with me on that, and that's okay. Yeah. Brad says John Calipari is the Jim Harbaugh of college football. Yeah, see, maybe for me, national championships are a really big deal. It's not like John Calipari is a historically bad coach and a loser. Like Harbaugh didn't get to the playoffs of this year. Yeah. Oh, we ain't gotten to the Kim Mulkey talk. Carlton Cisco does bring some Kim Mulkey in here, though. He says, there's seamlessly a dark cloud over LSU sports minus Kim Mulkey, tough times, and Jay Johnson. Tough times in the SEC has stunk in the tourney. Yeah, and look, I want to give Kim a lot of credit. I've said this before. I love watching her girls play. Down 10, back up against the wall. I know that you're going up against a 14 seed. They fight back. They win. They'll be taking on Ohio State. I really do believe that Kim Mulkey is obviously going to ride this ship. But, guys, this is what bringing in good coaches looks like. What if, and just hear me out. What if Kim Mulkey goes to a Sweet 16, Elite 8, and Brian Kelly goes 10-2, anywhere between 9-3 and 8-2 next season? Guys, Brian Kelly's bringing in some good coaches. Now, Jay Johnson's got 27 more games in the SEC. Let's see how this all trickles out, okay? Got a lot of baseball left. Even if Jay hosts a regional, gets to a super regional this year, I'd be all right with it. I just don't think that they have the pitching staff. But we got to get back on par and on point from an LSU perspective of actually being dominant and really good in 3 sports. Guys, for the last couple of years, we have not been good at all. Not really. I mean, the most success that we've had over the last 3 years is from Paul Maneri and the LSU baseball team, who went 13-17 in the SEC, and the worst that he did was get to a super regional against Tennessee. We have to get better. We have to get back to that. That's why I say when Will Wade was fired and we lost to Iowa State, that it was kind of like a sigh of relief for me. Like, hey man, let's finally move on. Get Coach Mack or Tony Bennett or somebody to that caliber up in here, and let's move forward. But this whole losing and being a loser, it's not okay with me. It's not okay with me, and it shouldn't be good with you either. Chili says on YouTube, #AskBlake, did you see the adjustments the coach for St. Peter's made in their 2 NCAA tourney games that guy can coach. Hell, go after him. I don't care who he goes after. If Scott hires somebody, that means number one, their resume is out of this league, better than what we could probably have gotten. Or number two, they knocked it out of the park in that interview. So yeah. Let's see. Angela Donovan says, got to catch up with March Madness to participate. Thanks. Yeah. Chance Batman says, everybody pays. He sucked at not being caught. If you're talking about Will, yeah, he sucked at it. A Duke water. YouTube user says Baylor about to lose too. Are they really? Well, the men lost yesterday. You know what's even crazy? Iowa State's leading Wisconsin right now, 36-30. Texas Tech is leading by 3 against Notre Dame. We still got some good games tonight. Auburn comes on at 7:08. I'll be tuning into that one. We'll probably be getting off the air when that game comes on. I think Jabari Smith's the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft. Brandon Reese says if Coach Mack is a new men's basketball coach for us, he might do a good job. Hell yeah, he's going to do a good job. Hell yeah, he's going to do a good job. X's and O's coach, a great recruiter. I mean, when you're able to find gems like John Morant and recruit them to come and play, you goddamn right. You goddamn right. Look, I want LSU basketball to be dominant. I want them to be good. There's nothing better than having a winter and a spring when your basketball team in a March is making a run. There's no better feeling. Huey Lipsy on YouTube says, you especially needs to calm down, Blake. Young team, new coach, let it be what it is. You don't have a young team. You don't have a young coach. You do have a new coach. But if you're talking about baseball, Schlossnagle is a new head coach, and they have a very young team. They have 15 freshmen, 6 seniors, and 6 juniors. Let me say that again, Huey, just in case you didn't realize this. You just got beat in a series by Jim Schlossnagle, who's a new head coach at A&M, with Nolan Kane, and has 15 freshmen, 6 seniors, and 6 juniors. It's not an excuse. Oh, God. I didn't freak out on Jay Johnson. I mean, guys, can you raise your hand if I freaked out on LSU baseball? Because I sure as hell didn't freak out on LSU baseball. Boy, y'all after my ass today, boy. Y'all after my ass today. It's what happens. It's what happens when I guess I don't go 6 days a week. Huey says, you, sir, is the one who needs to calm down. Young team, new coach. Let it be what it is. Hashtag for Will Wade. Guys, I can't do this shit anymore. You want to defend Will Wade? By all means, go and do it. By all means. Go ahead. Defend his ass. You look like a fool. If you want Will Wade to tell you a lie again and run out there and post on social media, talk about it on your shows and say Will Wade's innocent, by all means, be my guest. But you're a damn fool. I know you want some sourcing for your ass? since y'all getting after my ass today? You want some sourcing for your ass? You know how this thing that we've built here and the reason you follow, here's some sourcing for your ass. Scott Woodward did not fire Will Wade without proof. And then when I mean proof, I'm talking about serious proof. Don't let Will Wade lie to your ass no more. Don't let it happen. Because the last time that happened, we looked like a damn fool. Scott Woodward is not going to back down unless he's caught red-handed. He loves LSU too much. You think that he wants a postseason ban when you legitimately get paid a lot of money to go in the postseason in the NCAA tournament? You're a damn fool. We get so wrapped up in the word allegations when it comes to notice of allegations. No, it should be called notice of proof. Then everybody coming in this show, take your exact problems and your exact concerns and say, fire Scott Woodward then. You don't have the cojones. As they would say in Major League 2, you don't have the marbles to run out there and say fire Scott Woodward. I quadruple dog dare you. Please do it. Please. Carlton Cisco says, I'd be happy with Coach Mack at Murray State. Blake, hopefully we give him some security and we get a 1-year probation. One can hope, like I hope, we get 8 wins in football this fall. If LSU does only get a 1-year probation, guys, if that's the Carlton, if that's what we're facing, man, I gotta tell you, I'm gonna be happy too. But go get Coach Mack. I like him a lot. 30-2 or 31-3, I think. 31-3, guys. That's, I mean, man can coach. Chris says the FBI turned over everything they had in the investigation. The NCAA has Wade dead to rights. Austin says Will Wade is a garbage coach. One could only recruit because he bought players. Crying Belly says on YouTube, Blake, the thing is, and I'm not trying to disagree with about what you said with baseball, but Texas A&M is a very scrappy team. Yeah, guys, that it looks like more and more on Coach Mack is coming to light. We won't play a team like them again in the SEC. The game lasted about 4 hours. Crying. Yes, you will. It's called Vandy. It's called Arkansas. It's called Ole Miss. No, you know what? You're going to play better teams than them. You're right. You won't play a team like A&M again in your conference. You're going to play better teams. The hell you mean? Eldo with an interesting question. He says, Blake, how long does Jay Johnson get a pass? The talent is there. I don't think he gets a pass now. I mean, I'm not calling for him to be fired. I'm not calling for a year one coach to get fired. That ain't gonna happen. I'm just telling you, it ain't gonna happen. But fielding and pitching is really bad. He needs to get hit on that. Crying Belly seems to believe that there's not a better team in the SEC other than Texas A&M. Crying, I'm sorry to tell you this, but yes, there is. Crying, Ole Miss is the number 1 team in the country. Come on, bro. Come on. Let me see something here because I keep my phone. If y'all hear that buzzing, Yeah, Coach McMahon, bro. From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, 43 years old, was a shooting guard at Tennessee, or Appalachian State, I should say. 6'1" shooting guard. Okay. Caleb Evans says, y'all are crazy thinking we won't play anyone better. Yeah, crying. Come on, man. Come on. We're about to play so many better teams than Texas A&M. AJ Bama says A&M pitching coach was with Coach Johnson at Arizona and at Oregon State prior to that. Well, look, and Nolan Cain knows his team better than anybody because he recruited them. They had a very good scouting report on this LSU team. So yeah, I mean, Edo says I'm not calling for him to be fired either, bro. No, I know you're not, Ed. I know you're not. But if it was Palmineri, people would be hammering him. Oh, absolutely, they'd be hammering him. Absolutely. He doesn't get a pass right now for what's going on in the field. It's crazy because people are calling for Jordan Thompson to be pulled, but then he comes up in the next half inning, he gets a huge base hit, and then you score a run in the inning. But the fielding is so bad. I don't think Jay Johnson and them aren't working on it though. I don't really know the answer, man. I mean, Jordan Thompson he doesn't set his feet. His arm. I mean, it's like he's kind of trying to play like in a realm where that he could just have the swag and not go through the fundamentals. That first inning error was so, and on that relay was so damn bad, y'all. So damn bad, y'all. You have to have fundamentals. Crying says, by scrappy and you won't play a team like them again is a good comparison saying Auburn football gives LSU most trouble because they are scrappy. You won't play other aggravating teams. Crying, they had 17 hits today, bud. It doesn't matter if you're not going to play a scrappy team. You're going to play better teams. You think those teams aren't scrappy? Chili says, hashtag Ask Blake, who should play third base in your opinion? I like Merrifield. I don't know, though. I like Merrifield there. I don't know. I don't know if you don't move Jacob Berry to let him be in a DH. He is not good in right field. He's not good at third. A scout told me, who a lot of you probably know from the Twitter spaces, that he's going to play first base or he's going to DH at the next level. More than likely, he'll play first base. But he's just not good at third or in right field. And you can't put him there now because of Trey Morgan. Let me say this, too, before we get on out of here. Guys, the best player on the team right now, by the way, is K. Doty. There's no questions about it. Clutch hit, he's there. Clutch play, he's there. K. Doty right now is the best player on the team. I don't care about Jacob Bear from an overall perspective. From an overall perspective, he is the best from on the field and at the plate, the best player on the team. James Washington says, hashtag Ask Blake is crying trolling. No, he's not. He's a big LSU fan. Very big LSU fan. He comes in Twitter spaces. And he is a very, very big Baker Mayfield fan. Nurse Court sends us $4.99 via Super Chat. Thank you. She said, happy Sunday, AYS family. Thank you so much, Court. Thank you. All right. Sunday edition. Let me end this. Chance Babin says K. Doty is making himself some money now. Yeah, he is. Well, I'm not going to get into those weeds because if I say that, I'm not going to say that. But I have been told by the same scout that they think that Cade Doughty might be the third best prospect on LSU's team. It being Cruz, Barry, Doughty, and then Morgan, because Morgan's not going to play first base at the major league level. He's just not. He's just not. All right. We'll see you guys again tomorrow. Thanks for joining us here today. It's great. Share. Everybody share it on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all of it. Hit the retweet, share to some Facebook groups. We greatly appreciate it, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Y'all have a good night. Peace out, Girl Scouts.